A very good evening to you and welcome to Politics Roundabout here on Benue Television. Today on Politics Roundabout, we'll be looking at something quite different, something which is, something within the space of education. So we are talking and the country is talking about what the minister have said about education. The limitation of age education, which he said that underage candidates will no longer be allowed to sit for secondary school examination. We will be talking about this with someone very special and important in our midst. He is no any other but Emmanuel. He is Emmanuel Ikule, Executive Director, Alexis Trust Foundation. He will be joining us shortly after this time out. My name is Mary Magdalene Dam. Please do stay. Welcome back on Politics Roundabout. Like I told you earlier, we will be talking about what the nation has been talking about in recent time, and we all know, which is the limitation of, the limitation of writing WAEC coordination exam, NECO, and JAM, and the rest of it all. We have someone very special, like I told you, in our midst, he will be talking to us about this topic. Mr. Emmanuel Ikuli, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So what is your take on the conduct of Nigerian students in our various institutions?
There's a saying that garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So students are the product of the society. We didn't import, or we don't import students outside the country and bring them into the country.
Yeah.
So the system creates the children, produces the students, and the system also provides avenue for them to write their exams, and based on competence, they are also being given admission into schools and all that.
Okay.
So the school, outside being a place where knowledge is being taught or can be gotten from, is also a place where morals are also being taught.
Yeah.
So outside learning, the reading the books, there are also other things that students learn, and that is why such institutions we have in the country are made to address those concerns.
Yeah.
So if at any time students don't behave right or are coming out to reflect something differently, it is because that is what the system has done, or this is how good or how bad the system is. So if the system is not good enough and not producing people that are good enough, then instead there should be a collective effort to change the system or to retweak it to actually give us the quality and the type of persons we are looking at. But in order to look at the system, you cannot just look at the students alone. You have to also look at the lecturers, those that are teaching them. You have to also look at the school system. How good are the institutions, the facilities, and the environment where these persons are learning. If it's good enough, then it means everything should be good enough. But if it's not good, then it means either the system is not working well. And then on the second part is also people that have been appointed or selected to represent us. They on their own part also are expected to actually represent and reflect what we, the people, want.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be personal decisions, especially when it affects the whole society. Such decisions have to go through society scrutiny. People have to make inputs for it to become a reality. But when one person sits and you don't know where such decisions are coming from, and it's just being read out there to people, it's more like we are no longer in a democratic government,
Yeah.
but an authoritarian society where people can just sit and then make
Decisions.
decrees and then it should be that way.
Mm.
But this is not a step in the right direction, and for a lot other persons have already started talking about and taking the matter to court, and some of us will certainly like to also toe that path.
Okay. So let's say does age play a vital role in this in the student university slash the territory themselves?
I would say yes, age plays a role,
Okay.
but in this case, when you want to make decisions, especially when you're occupying public office, you give reasons why it is so, why you wish for certain decisions to be so, why you wish for certain policy decisions to be so. When you don't give reasons or tangible reasons enough, or tangible excuses enough, then you are supposed to, when you wish to make certain policies, you make the people be aware that this is the type of policy you wish to implement. If it sits well with them, then fine. If it doesn't, the problem of the country, it's not about the student. The first, because even those that have graduated 20, 30, 15, 10 years ago are still unemployed. It's not because they are not good enough. It's not because the quality is not there. It's because the system or the government have not created enough jobs or opportunities where people can also be self-employed. So it's not about the quality of persons coming out, but the failure of the government to actually make decisions and policy decisions that impact on the society. So we should concentrate on other issues that are more relevant at this time, where people are still getting married to underage persons. That is more critical. Those are the policy decisions they should be making, because students at the age of 13, 15 are dropping out for marriage. They are too small because their bodies are not even prepared for that. So that should be the angle the government or political actors should be paying attention to see how to stop persons that are engaging in such acts to stop, because it's not just it's not good enough, it's not moral enough, and for such persons they are still children. You have to be 18 at least for you to get married. Anything below that, at least at this time, we are not working with 20 or 50 years ago, we are working with currently. And we are, at least as a society, we should be informed that getting married to people that are underage has negative effect on them. So that should be the angle. And because getting married to these persons also prevent them from accessing quality educations. Because somebody that is pregnant at that level may have to maybe skip school for some time and all that. But it's too young. And another thing is the body even prepared for such, for such an action. So for us, that is the area that the government should be paying attention to. If students are brilliant, I remember those days, people from grade 4 get double promotions to grade 6 and all that. And even from primary 4, some people write exams, WAEC, JAMB, and they score better than people even in grade 6 or class 6. So you cannot just wake up one day and then just feel that, how is that the problem of the Nigerian society? We have a lot of situation, we have a lot of crisis in our situation. Our educational curriculum, to a large extent, is outdated. We are not training leaders, we are training just followers. So, and once you want to be divergent in any way, whether it's for the right reasons, most times they just want to compel obedience, whether it's for the good reason or not. So I think it should be, our political leaders should be thinking better about what is best for Nigeria, what is good for Nigeria. And being going to university at the age of 15, 14, even 16, it shows the person is capable. If the person goes to the university and is not good enough, the system on its own purge people that cannot cope. So that is not like the main problem. We have a lot of issues around the educational sector that the minister should pay attention to, and this is not one of them.
I remember when we were growing up, maybe when we were going to school or something, or before maybe it's a child reach a certain age, there's this policy. They used to put your hand. They'll ask you to put your hand. If your hand is across your head,
Be able to touch your ear.
good, you'll be able to go into touch. But I believe I see that now it's not really necessary anymore. But coming with that, the law which is said that that is what they want to implement. I think on my own part, why I'm looking at it on the aspects where, like you rightly said, the agreement of doing the education stuff, but on the other hand of getting married, little or very little, let's call it children, are doing the same. But let's take a look at from the angle of the other nations. What do you think about other nations? Do you think they're also implementing such law, or they're not?
I may not really be aware of every nation, but I know that most persons, most countries,
Yes.
by the age of 20, a lot of persons are already done with university.
Yeah.
That is why we have doctors
Mhm.
at the age of 22, 20. In some countries, already we have doctors.
Mhm.
That means they have been through with their university system some time ago before going further
Yeah.
to get the doctorship. So if that is the case, and it has not limited them from excelling, because you have to be a graduate and excel before you get to a level of being awarded the doctorate degree and all that. So if such system are still progressing, why are we looking at that?
Yeah.
We had the program one time in Lagos, and somebody during the COVID period, and one of the organizers came from Sweden, was around 21 years.
Okay.
She was already the board member, the board chairman
Mm.
of a particular organization that we're actually supporting education. Actually, it's even supporting young persons to get employed, get into schools and all that.
Mm.
And then you are looking at the age. She was 21 and already a board chairman.
Mm.
In our own system here, first of all, we don't even trust the young persons to give them access to employment, not to talk about opportunities.
Yes.
So people will get old, even at the point of retirement, they'll still will be looking for extra ways to find ways to remain.
Yes, yes.
So the system has been corrupt for a long time, and the government is trying to even worsen the situation. So the government should try to be more accountable to such systems where people that are, if they are trying to do this because they are thinking that too many persons are already getting graduated without jobs, then they should try to see how those that are due at the point of 35 years in office, or at least 60 years as expected from the civil service guidelines, should be retired. Not even currently, the government is even pushing for extension of the IGP in office, you know. But meanwhile, by September, his tenure has elapsed. He's supposed to go.
Okay.
So there are assistants that should take over. That is why they are there, and the government have invested in them. But they are still trying to elongate the tenure of people. So if that is the reason why they are feeling that maybe people are with too much outside, then they should try to, people that are due to the point of retirement, they should help them to retire. There are a lot of opportunities in the country, but the government is failing to do that. So people certainly will still be available out there, but there are better ways of doing things. You cannot deny a young person access to university just because you feel it's not up to 18. It's not a good reason. What should they do after secondary school? For no reason, they should just sit and wait. Let me wait till I'm 18 years. But if you look, in those days, they say that old age is wisdom. But sometimes when you listen to ministers and listen to people in public office saying certain things, you doubt whether currently it's still wisdom. And sometimes people speak well, but immediately they enter into politics. When you listen to them, you are shocked. So such decisions shouldn't count. It shouldn't even hold water. And they are there actually to represent us. So any decision that doesn't sit well with us, they are expected to listen and effect that change. So they cannot impose on us. We are not in a military regime. So it's a democracy, and in this democracy, for us that also work in the area of education, we do not align with his school of thought, and we actually refuse that in all totality. There are better ways of doing things, and young persons shouldn't be denied access to education. A lot of countries, even in Africa, they're encouraging people going to school without even paying anything. But our own system, there's hike in school fees, and when people could even afford, and when people can even afford the hike in school fees, we are still telling them that no, now it's age. We should be thinking about things that add value to us, not that. Or looking at maybe the curriculum is not good enough. Instead of teaching things that are not relevant for our own society, they should look at what is obtainable in other developed countries, or what China is teaching people at a particular age. Maybe into tech, already some persons are already good at that level. How can we incorporate this into our educational system that by the time they are leaving secondary school, they're already top notch there? That even at that level, even if they drop out, there are available jobs or menial jobs that can get them handy. By the way, people are going about it, and it also brings the question to the type of persons we appoint or we select to man certain positions. So that should be, there should be checks to check the quality of persons. It's not about positions the person have or the titles. We should be looking at what can the person offer. In fact, before people occupy certain positions, they should clearly specify what and what you have to offer in certain areas. So that if we are not good enough, we are not okay with certain decisions, such persons shouldn't even occupy positions in the first place.
So talking about position now, let's bring it down to the aspect where let's say the rich and the poor in this scenario, or in this case. What do you think, or how do you think they are both affected? How are they affected in this?
I think both are affected, and I may even say that the haves be affected more, because one, many of them, people that have the resources, their students or their wards or their children starts education at a very tender age because the funds is there. But sometimes for people who are not well to do, may try to delay it. Okay, my child should be 6 years first before he starts attending primary school. That was even the case some years back. During my time, it was similar. You have to be 6 years first before you enter into primary one and all that, or else you have to go through PP, then was pre-primary, nursery, and all that. Now there's scratch being added into the mix. So these persons have to, pass through the system. But once there's funds, you won't be disturbed. For you, maybe I'm having a very good paying job. I'm going to my work. My wife is going to her job. Certainly, my child, instead of getting nanny and getting all those persons into the mix, I may just decide, okay, let him be in school and start learning at that level. But somebody that is not well to do may also not even be employed. So at that point, we'll be looking at, okay, the money that we should use to feed, we'll put him in school. Okay, instead, I'm not working now. Let me be at home and take care of my child. So it means it will even affect maybe people that even have money more. But if you look at it critically, most of our well-to-do persons are actually sending their children abroad to go and study. So it also begs the question, if you are looking at patriotic persons, as long as you occupy public positions, you cannot, if they really want to change the system, you and your family cannot access services outside. But at the same time, such persons also have rights. So yes, normally that shouldn't be. But if really you are not comfortable with the Nigerian system, educational system or health system or sector, then you have to try to fix it. But you can only fix it when you are accessing such services. So if their children are not attending our schools, or by now maybe certain persons feel because their children are already graduates, so they can come and make certain decisions, then it doesn't sit well. It's not for the good of the people. And this is what people normally say called anti-people policies. You are government of the people, for the people, and by the people. That is why people elect you to occupy position to represent their interests. But when you are failing and making poor decisions, people come out to protest. You get people to protest against the protesters. You kill them, you detain them, and find reasons to keep them in detention incommunicado, and then still continue making such poor decisions that still affects them. Gradually, we may end up going to chaos. And so our political leadership, the federal government, the minister for education, there is time for them to sit up. Some decisions, you put it out there in a mix and then get feedback. But most times you look at it that they are not thinking or trying to even get the feedback from the people. Anything the people say to them is like, whatever I will tell you is the right thing. And once people enter into positions now, they have become emperors. That whatever they say should be. So it's a very sad reality, and no country grows that way. So if you check the most, the biggest of countries, or the most developed of developed countries that are practicing democracy in whatever level or manner, people always try to have their say. And even in developed countries where they are not even practicing democracy, the government, most times you see them making decisions that impact on the people, not the one that will cripple what we have. So for somebody that has married late, will be looking, I have only 10 years in while working, and my child is already 15 years. Let me rush so that he can get done, so that by the time I'm also done with, I'm retiring at 35, my child also will be through with the university, and then you are telling, no, just sit at home. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. If available hands are not being used for the right reasons, they'll be recruited for the wrong reasons. That is why when we keep hearing about unknown gunmen, Boko Haram, kidnappings here and there, they are not all old people. Even young persons are part of this syndicates and these organizations, because of what they have not been put to the right use. And our government should think better on decisions like that. If they have run out of ideas, or they need ideas, there are already available hands to work with them. It shouldn't be about cronies, people that I know, or people that I felt supported me. This is not about, this is not personal funds. This is not personal business. This is a country of about 250 million persons. And you have to make decisions that affect them positively. Yes.
Like you rightly said, I remember a part where while I was having this conversation with one of my colleagues, he bitterly spoke about it, and bringing it to you and asking you how you feel or who you feel is mostly affected in this. It's a thing for let me say the rich, actually. I mean them, the ones that are
buoyant enough with the
Thank
resources.
you very much. You know, some at a very tender age, you discover a child is already into school. Before you know, the child is out of school, or to the point where sometimes the school fees is higher, and they're trying to, okay, at this point, maybe in primary 4 or in primary 6, primary 5, I don't think my child should be there anymore. The school fees is high, or it's too much. Let me switch it to maybe the secondary level. That is the aspect where I feel like the rich is even more on the financial aspect, is even more affecting them the more, and the less privileges, or the less level, or the lesser ones, yes, yeah. It's more on them, like you've said. But in all of these things, I feel the government should reconsider his decisions, like that. So now let's talk about what you think about the minister's factor in increasing, or rather the strike in our institutions, or maybe at the employment level. What really do you think, or what really can you talk to us about it?
So, any government, or the basic or primary aim of every government,
Yeah.
is to actually work towards addressing the concerns of people.
Okay.
So, government or governance all relate about the authoritative allocation of value or resources.
Mm-hmm.
And when you occupy certain positions, you make decisions that add value to your people.
Yeah.
So if you are looking at how you can improve lives, you know very well that these persons are going to school. By the time they are done, they have quality that they can improve the society.
Yes, sure.
That's the whole essence of school.
Yeah.
If that is not the whole essence of school, then there's no reason people going to school. Just crumble the system and then let's be done, and everybody will just homeschool and then come out. But if that is the case, and the essence of school is to actually groom people that will come and develop Nigeria and raise it from being a third world country to a developed country and all that. If that is the case, then those at the helm of affairs have to pay more attention. Those that we are appointing to actually occupy certain critical positions, people heading Minister for Education, people in Ministry of Education, people heading that whole or any aspect of any area in education have to pay attention to the details. So the first thing is, what is the type of curriculum that we are using? Is it a curriculum of 20 years that we're still using till date? I remember my time in school, uni days, there are some lecture notes that you see years when it was written. Maybe it was also the lecture note of that lecturer. And that person might have been a graduate like 20 years before your time, but he's still using the same lecture note, outdated note to teach you. So so at the end of the day, how has that improved you? So that is where it comes to checks and balances. There's a saying that an unexamined life is not worth living. If we want to really work the educational sector to work for everybody, or to actually produce the quality graduates that will add value and change the situation, the unhealthy situation of the country, then it means we have to pay attention to the curriculum.
You're welcome back on the program. As we rightly saying, we still have our guests in the midst and in the studio rather. And you were telling us something about
So I was actually talking about the decisions of the government around strike and also around as regards to employment of graduates.
Okay.
So most times people go on strike or schools go on strike because they see that those at the helm of affairs are not paying attention to the educational system. And sometimes it's also because of selfish reasons of some lecturers. So at one time or the other, those in public positions or the legislature make decisions or policy decisions that improves their own salaries. And then, or improves the salary of other persons, and then those in the educational sector also looking, okay, we too, ours should be improved. We have schooled more than you guys. So if our own, if your salaries are increased, why not us as well? So because of that, sometimes it's not even because most or three-quarters of the strikes are not even because of the students. In fact, they are not even considered. Even lecturers don't even consider them at that point because they think that is the side I'm talking about. A lot of persons are too selfish. Everybody is thinking about self instead of looking at the general good. So school that you should have been able to go for just 3 to 4 years, it takes you 6 years.
6 years or even more.
And then when you are going for certain interview and then the person is looking at 6 years on your CV, is thinking maybe you actually repeated or something, or because you had a spill because you're having 6 years. At the same time, because of the delay in the school system, you come out and then you are above the age of employment. You are done with school, secondary school at the age of 20, and then university that should take 4 years is taking you 6 years. That is 26 already. You wait for 1 year in Benue State. Or there are certain states that don't wait for 1 year, but in Benue, I think you wait for 1 year, and then that is 27. The following year, by the time you are done with service, is 28. And when you are done with service by 28, most of the jobs we are looking from the federal government is telling you 23, 25.
Limited.
So you are 28. Or at the age of 28, they tell you you don't have work experience. So where are you supposed to get the experience from? Then you may roam around and then do menial jobs or even do internship in areas that does not align with your discipline. At the end of the day, you are 30, and then they are telling you you have to be not above 28 years or 25 years. So you'll be looking at the system has made you become a graduate at that level. It's not because you wanted it, because the system failed you. So why should you be suffering because of a failure of system made possible by selfish persons, selfish lecturers, also by selfish persons occupying political positions? Because these decisions are not made to please the people. People that are well-to-do, that is why most of them decide to instead send their wards abroad to go and study. And when they study at that point, most of them come back as graduates. And they graduate younger than people graduating in Nigeria. So, is it that the decision that the minister is making is for also included, for also their children that are going to study abroad? If that's the case, then we may be saying, okay, since it's all-inclusive thing, but it's still not of use. It's not really impacting us. So the first thing the government should pay attention to is almost everybody that pass through the school system these days always have strike, or they have experienced strike. Can we as a country decide that we have end to strike, no longer strike again in our educational system? A lot of African countries have done that. Why can't we do the same? So that can be the first step, and those are the decisions we're expecting somebody at the level of the minister to make. Then secondly, also to look at those that have passed through the system are graduates. How can we give them jobs? People graduate from education from different faculties and different departments. Sometimes they top those classes, but you see other persons coming through the ranks to become lecturers, and they being unemployed. So is it that they pass through the system and top their classes, but they are not qualified to become assistant lecturers or pass through the system? In those days, when you top your class, you are being given certain privileges or appointments. So what is happening? So now it's based on people who I know to occupy positions, not because of competence. And that is what has been affecting. And if you look at the appointments by the president, appointment by the governor, and a lot of persons in different states, most persons are appointed because they were friends. Not out of competence, not because of what they would deliver, but because, oh, you did something for me, let me scratch your back.
Yeah.
So, but in the long run, it's affecting our country. That is why we are still where we are. It shouldn't be a conflict of interest should be avoided. Why do we keep having corrupt tendencies? You are putting people in positions and they feel, okay, I've been given this because I invested some money while the person was contesting. So now it's my time to come and harvest back what I invested.
Yeah.
So those type of notions does not inspire growth. So we are hoping that issues of strike, if the government can do something about it, will really help. So that we are tired of hearing strike over and over again.
Yeah, sure.
Most times they go on strike, maybe school fees is at the level of 100,000. When they come back from the strike, they are paying 120,000.
Yeah.
And the time there are these children at home, what are they doing? Is the government paying attention to that? Once the hands are idle, they can be recruited for anything.
Exactly.
So let us avoid the system. Already we have had a lot of issues of insecurity and all these issues of terrorism already crippling our country down and sending even investors out of the country. So let us have a system that works, a system that prevents people from being idle, a system that thinks of encouraging people that are competent, a system that encourages quality, a system that negates nepotism and sectionalism, anything that divides or you appoint people because of religion and all those things. It has not helped us. It's only killing us. We cannot claim to be the giant of Africa currently. It's just a name. Maybe based on population, we may claim to be the giant of Africa. But if you look at growth in the last 5 to 10 years, we cannot compare ourselves with most of the countries in Africa. So giant of Africa should be in all sectors, not just by the name we call ourselves, not just because of the trillions we make in our country and have nothing to show for it. So the government should pay attention to employment. And employment, our ministries have not employed for as long as I can remember. So who are the people they claim they have been paying? Our MDAs and new ministries are coming up and popping up every time, and government claims people are occupying those positions. Who are the persons? When have they recruited in those particular offices that people are not? This is our public ministries. They are meant for everybody. It should be open for everybody, and recruitment should be based on everybody is entitled to that. So why not do a call for advertised positions and people to apply? And if this number of persons, then let everything be transparent. If that can be done, a lot of persons will believe in the system. But a lot of persons are looking at ways to go abroad. Why? Because they believe in those systems better than ours. If our system, you know very well, just like 20, 30, 50 years ago, our parents, by the time they are done with secondary school, they have access to jobs. Jobs were waiting for them. When they were not graduates, they were not given a job. Then immediately you graduate, they give you a job. These days, you even have a better certificate than somebody without certificate. They appoint them to certain positions. So it means they are even making mockery of the educational sector, because if somebody is a graduate with qualification and you have negated them for people that are not uneducated and cannot offer those services, then it's something wrong. There are jobs meant for people that are graduates, and there are jobs meant for people that are not graduates. This thing, there's specialization also in everything, and if you want a system that works, certainly you encourage specialization. But when a system is based on friend reason only for the wrong reason, and you keep appointing persons that are not good enough to occupy positions, sensitive positions, then there's an issue. And the government should pay attention to this if really he wants the system to work. So those are the things they should be paying attention to. If we know that we don't have strike, at the end of the day you graduate and there are jobs, people won't have time to go and engage in Boko Haram. People won't have time to go and kidnap people, because they are getting from the government. That money is for everybody. is not just for you or people working in the government. There should be ways that other persons, that even self-employed persons, can also benefit from the general money meant for everybody. Maybe through hospital, maybe drugs can be subsidized, maybe roads can be made, maybe airports can be working, maybe factories or something else. Or maybe there can be loan facilities that people that are not employed in government facilities can also access those loans to upgrade themselves to the level that they can, be able to improve their lives and even employ people. So that should be the area that the government should be looking at and concentrate, and then remove all this issue of budgeting monies for irrelevant things above that which they budget for education. So if that can be done, it will go a long way in helping us address some of these concerns that we have spoken about.
Okay. So let's go into let's look at, or let's talk about the children of politicians. Let's use that word. The politicians, maybe the schools. Let's talk about the children of politicians. School at a very young age. What do you have to say? Just like you made mention of sending the children abroad, source of that. What really can we talk about on that?
I remember a particular country that they made, when they realized they wanted growth, they made a policy decision that every money stolen and earned in their country has to be spent in their country.
Yes.
So indirectly it means you cannot steal money. Even if you have stolen money, you stole money and you went and built a factory, and you employed 20 persons. Indirectly, people are still benefiting from it, although it's a stolen money, but people are benefiting from it indirectly. But the sad reality here have always been that you steal money in the system. You steal trillions or billions of naira in our country and you go and invest it in another country. The economy is stable, the economy is growing, and ours is crippling because you are taking out, there's nothing coming in.
That's ridiculous.
You are improving nothing, and the little its system is producing, you are taking it out. So you are squeezing it to the level at which it comes to a level that you don't have. For developed countries with developed minds, you borrow to invest, you borrow to produce. In our system, we borrow to squander. So in our system currently, that we're trying to fix certain things, people are borrowing. I remember, I think the last administration or so, I had one of the governors actually paid school fees for in advance for about 10 for the child, and he had EFCC or thereabout was following such a person within the country. And you look at the situation and then you are shocked at how unfortunate the common man is. If you are a governor and monies are being given to you, how about the legislature make decisions or make laws that as a governor, at the end of your tenure, if you have to give account as commissary to the budgetary allocations given to you, where you fail, you are supposed to be detained that very day you're handing over. And 1 year to your handing over, you won't even leave. They're allowed to leave. What are you traveling outside of the country for? If people want to invest, you can be in your country and they will come. So there's no need we traveling. What are we? Everybody's traveling, wasting monies and all that in traveling. Keep the person here. If the person is unable to account for monies, then lock the person up and freeze every asset until such monies are returned. As well as the cronies that are followed in spending such monies. Then the other part is sending. Is still public funds they use. Some of them use in sending their children or their wards abroad. Some of these children, even in Nigeria, you see them wasting monies to a level that even government-owned equipments are being used for personal private use. Private jets or airlines meant for government use are sometimes used for private use. Official cars become private cars after the end of tenure. They are supposed to be handed over. It's not your money. It's public funds were used to purchase it. The following administration is supposed to use it.
Mm.
And then the money, instead of buying new cars, such monies can be channeled towards other things. But instead, that has not been the case. So most time they use this public funds, send them abroad and keep them there. So they are there lavishing. Most times they don't work because there are billions and trillions of naira to waste. But if we have reasonable leaders that are thinking about our people, then certainly for you to be a public office holder, your children shouldn't be abroad. That can also be a policy decision. If you really have to occupy a certain position, all your children should school in Nigeria. At least at the point where you become a public office holder, everything, your medical checkup and everything should be done in Nigeria. If you are not happy with this particular sector, then come together and fix it. That's the only way we can get better. So as they are going abroad, our school system is in a dilapidated situation. Classrooms are leaking here and there. No seats. People are still squatting, sitting on stones. Till date. No libraries to read where students can actually be able to access. No ICT units where they can actually also be able to learn and learn new skills on how to impact on outside the course they are studying. So these persons, the school is gradually getting bad every day in all aspects based on the lectures they are giving them, the lack of facilities that they can learn using learning, the building and everything also may not even be comfortable for learning. And then what are the situations where lecturers sometimes decide not to come, even if they are available? And unnecessary, I know situations where during my time also a lot of persons were failed, or certain lecturers were oppressing certain persons because they wanted to get certain benefits from them. As a lady, you have to come and sleep with them for them, or things like that. And some persons, I think also that is, or can also be seen in the social media, some persons went for that even have recordings of such persons. These persons are still in the system, and even before now, these things were happening. Some of these persons were aware. Yes, some things have been done to actually act as checks, but they are still happening. How can we, as a system, if we really want to move ahead, then there should be checks in all this. As a school, do they have recreational facilities? It shouldn't just be school. All work and no play. Make Emmanuel a dull guy. So, as such situations, at least once in a while, let them have a place where they can relax their head. Once in a while, they should have sport facilities and all that. Within, they can do competitions. That helps the brain to relax and prepare them, open their mind well to learn. But how many universities now have a functional recreational facilities? How many universities now have good health care facilities for the student if they are sick? How many of these particular students, how are their lecture rooms like? Is it modern lecture rooms or just the old one that they still use chalk and everything? Do they have light? Do they have water? Things that an environment that helps them relax enough to learn. So if the system is not favorable for them or encourages growth, they may just end up passing through the system without the system passing through them. But the government is their mandate to fix these things. And the people heading as either as rectors or either as VCs or vice chancellors, they also have a duty or mandate to follow up with the visitor to the university and other persons to ensure that whatever is lacking, that the school or the student needs for better learning is actually put in place. And there are also checks in the society where people that come to abuse students are also being punished. There are occasionally times where students protest for unnecessary increase in school fees. And you see government coming or clamping down on them by using police officers, and some students have ended up dying. Have you heard when the government have come out to say, I'm compensating these families for the wrongs we have done to them? How about punishing the officers have also killed such persons? But our system has not been accountable.
It seems they have been encouraged to do that.
Yes, and that continues afterwards.
Yeah.
Just imagine people coming out to protest bad governance, and people are saying this is insurrection. They are coming to change people in government. Is that why you are there? The people who have appointed you or selected if maybe a particular sector I want to even further my education and all that, I have more time to do that. At the same time, I'm also looking at, okay, I'm just 20. I still have like how many years ahead of me that can still work and retire early. That is why in developed countries, some people are retiring at 40, 45, because they started working early.
Yeah.
So you relax your mind. But in our own system, because the system is so poor and there's no plan for people that are retired, it's just a change. And then, so that has made a lot of persons feel, I cannot do with this. So they find any ways possible or any means possible to remain in employment, whether for the wrong reasons or not.
Yeah.
So at 60, 70, 80, 90, some people are still claiming to be for 55 just because of the mega money. But if you check their years in service, they have done more than 35. But they are still in the system. And because of lack of checks, the system does not purge these people out. So they are still in the system, just occupying space, because most of them do nothing. They are just there. You go there, they offer nothing, they add nothing, but they are still there. Yes. So if there are plans for them, just like developed countries, we are very good at copying other things, but the things that will really help us, we don't pay attention to. So if they actually pay attention, okay, if by 25 I have a job, a good job, then it means even at 35 to 25, that is 60. So by then I should be retired. And if I'm retired with a stable job, it means there's already plans, HMO, and all those things. I have access to healthcare, but most of the government jobs, how many of them have access to even HMO? Now a lot of people are trying about it, but how about subsidizing generally medication for everybody? So people that are not they are not employed by the government still can benefit. So that works generally for everybody, if really that is the angle we are looking at. So finishing or graduating early actually works better. If you, by the time, and then it gives you more access to more opportunities. If you graduate at 25, most jobs, they will tell you that not above 28. Most time, I think most jobs that's within, even if they are not looking at, recently I think jobs gradually are going not above 32. or 35. But initially, it was not above 28. So it means automatically any job you are available for it.
Right, yeah.
So you have more opportunities to pick from. But in a situation where you already, because of what the minister is saying, you follow him, and then at the end of the day you graduate and you are 35 already. And then there's no
There's no job
nobody
for you.
employ anybody. That means you have to find, you start going to learn a new skill. That is like you go for a new school to learn a new skill that you can use in feeding yourself. It's bad. So what is the essence of the school that I went for?
Yeah.
Just to be able to speak English. So those are the things that so it's better if you graduate early, you have access to almost every job.
Yeah.
So even if you want to further enter into, still go for maybe second degree or further your school and everything, there's more time. But as if you leave and then graduate around 35, 40 years, you are still thinking that, okay, I have to get a job first. At 40, you are also thinking about another project, which may be marriage. You may be thinking about business, but you're already at that level already.
Yeah.
But at 23, 25, you're a graduate. You know that, okay, I want to marry at 30. So you can still be able to finish your master. Maybe by 30, you're already a doctor. Who knows? So there's more room. So at 30, you're already a doctor. And then at that level, you're also being paid better.
Yeah.
You marry at that level, you can still further become a professor and all that. But somebody that is already